Perfect. If you want to put on your videos, that'd be great. So I'm not only staring at a couple of black screens. Nobody's judging you. We're all here. We all love you. And yeah, let's get into it. So we're going to start with wins of the day of the week. So in the past 7 days, what is one win that you have had? It could be nutrition, it could be training, it could be professional life, it could be maybe you just started, maybe it's your first week, maybe you just got your meal plan, maybe you're 7 months in, you just hit a PR. Any win that you have had in the past 7 days. My win is I moved to a different country, which is pretty freaking cool. So that's my win. I lost the chat. Ah, damn it. I just saw Maria posted in it. Chat? Yes, I found it. Deadlift 225. That is sick. Oh my gosh. That is really good. Finally using the barbell regularly. Yes, love that. Getting up at 5 a.m. consistently. Oh, I love that for you. That is definitely not hard. It gets easier though, as you'll probably notice. I'm glad that you chose to pick the going in the morning either way, like if you worked at or not. Because once you get your body on a rhythm, it's so much easier. I tried playing with the two when I would have days that I could sleep in. I would go let's say I'm going to the gym in the afternoon. I would sleep in on some days, and then some days I would wake up earlier. And honestly, it just made me tired all the time. So I found that when I'm just either on a consistent, if I'm going to the gym or not, if I wake up at 6:15 every day, it makes it much easier for me. Much easier for my body to get into rhythm. Walks before work in the morning, love that. And I know it's cold by you, so I love it even more. Join the Project Fit You program, let's go. Love that. All right, cool. So we're gonna get into it today. If you guys have any questions as we go, feel free to either put it in the chat or you can unmute yourself if you have anything that you would like to say. Maybe you are more of a vet and you want to share something as we go, something that has worked for you. You can share that as well. So let me share my screen with you. We'll get into it. Today's gonna be quick. So today we're doing all things protein. I know that protein is not easy. You probably realized, if you've started already, that creating your meals is almost like everything that you do is you thinking of protein. You're making a meal and you're like, how much protein is in this? Do I have enough protein? Everything is protein, 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 protein. And yes, that's how it is. That's how it will always be. And that's a good thing. You're going to also start to notice meals that you were having before, wow, I really wasn't having enough protein. Or maybe people around you, you're like, damn, it's really so easy to under eat protein. So today we're going to be talking about simple ways that you can start adding more protein to your diet, and most importantly, how we can avoid the macro Tetris. So macro Tetris is you're on your phone and you're eating a meal and you're plugging in the meal and you're already thinking about next meal because you haven't planned out your meal, or it's the end of the day and you filled up every single macro and all you have left is protein and you're like, what am I going to eat? Am I only going to eat egg whites? Obviously, don't do that, but we want to avoid that. So quick review. Last week, we did more of a mental health call. So falling in love with your every being. How are you feeling with that for anybody that was there? So we talked about, and for anybody that wasn't there, you guys can always go into the group recordings, either the night of or the morning of. I will post in there. But last week we talked about how we are looking at ourselves in the mirror. So if you haven't watched that already, our homework last week was every time we look in the mirror, we look at our favorite parts first. It's very, very easy for us to look and we criticize and you're like, oh, I don't like my arms. Or you always look and you're looking at your stomach or you're looking at your legs. You're looking at that one area that you don't like. We have to start to rewire that. So before you even look in the mirror, it's what is my favorite parts? There's a part of you that you like, and focus on that part first. So we start off with positivity. The mirror starts to become more of our friend, right? And then also that morning affirmation that's kind of setting us into the person that we want to be for the day. So very, very simple hacks and habits that we can start doing to really just fall in love with ourselves. So I hope anybody want to share anything from last week? You don't have to, but No, okay, cool. So let's keep it going. All right, so today we are going to cover 12 high protein sources and teaching you a little bit about planning out your day to avoid the stress of macro Tetris. So let's quickly just, before we get into that, why is protein important? Why should we even care? So number one is protein increases, or protein has a high thermic effect of food. So protein itself will increase your metabolism. It will make you burn more calories as a whole, as a day, as a being, right? The reason being is if you have, let's say 100 grams of protein and 100 grams of carbs, right? Your body has to produce much, or has to use much more energy in order to burn off of that protein. So when a lot of people say like, oh, I started increasing my protein and I started losing weight, or like XYZ, it's because of that. So sometimes it's not necessarily that we have to decrease your calories and continue decreasing your calories. You're going to notice like we up protein right away. And through that upping protein, I know it can be difficult. Another thing is muscle gains. So protein helps your body repair cells and make new ones. So you go into the gym, you are basically tearing down your muscles. As we have protein, you are helping building them up. And lastly, protein deficiency is very, very, very common, especially as we go into old age. So I want to make this a thing that you're not only having protein these 6 months, this 1 year that you're in Project Fit Chick, this is something that you have to continue doing for the rest of your life. So you're going to be 60, 70 years old. Like, damn, I haven't had enough protein today. Like, I remember doing Project Fit Chick and Nicole would be really mad at me right now. She saw my day. Like, make sure that we are having enough protein, because if not, we are weakening our immune system. Loss of bone and muscle mass, and hair and skin can weaken as well, a bunch of other things, and also slowing down your metabolism. Why do I get older and fat loss is so much harder? Why is it like that? Before I was able to maintain this body weight, pay attention to your protein. So we're going to go through a list of just high protein foods. We're going to start off with the easy ones. All right. So the easy ones are going to be your meats. Your chicken, your beef, your lean ground turkey, your fish, right? Maybe your steak. And as you start tracking, this is the beauty of getting into tracking, right? I know it gets a bad rep. A lot of you now have become more aware that it can be a good relationship, because you really start to learn about food, right? You learn that when I get the ground turkey that is like 85-15, that has a lot of fat, it doesn't have a lot of protein. When I get the one that's 98-2, it has a lot more protein, it has a lot less fat, right? There are different meats that will have more protein. There are different meats that will have more fat. So like a chicken breast versus a chicken thigh, a chicken breast will have much more protein than a chicken thigh. Not necessarily saying that like one is bad or one is good. It's just the different composition of them. So as we go, you can see here, we can see the difference of more of a leaner meat or more of a fattier meats. All right, so this is the very, very, very simple ones. We're just making sure that we are getting some type of like meat in your diet. Or if you are plant-based, or if you're not plant-based, also having plant-based options. Tofu, seitan, tempeh, you guys will see that that's basically like all I eat. If you've never explored either, seitan is very, very, very easy. If you go to like Acme or Stop and Shop or something like that, they have seitan. It's seasoned for you. It tastes pretty good. It kind of tastes like before I had it, I will relate it to like when you go to the Chinese food and you get like chicken and broccoli, that chicken kind of texture. That's what seitan kind of is. But if you go to like a vegan place, they make seitan in all different ways, but yeah, it's kind of like a beefy feel. Tofu, if you've never explored tofu, you'll probably make really bad tofu the first time you make it, and that's okay. I went through my fair share of making really bad tofu, but once you perfect it, you can realize that it's honestly just like you're making any type of meat. So meat, plant-based protein, if you want to get into it, obviously I'm here to help you get more recipes, help you perfect that as well. Next one is cheese. Cheese is a very easy way to get protein. Cottage cheese. If you like cottage cheese, it has so much protein in it, especially if you get like a fat-free option. Now, this is more for like my calorie deficit girls. Going for fat-free options is going to help you a lot throughout this journey. As we increase your calories, as you get into phase 2, or we get into your reverse diet, you're going to realize that, wait, I need to have more fats in my diet. I need to have more calories in my diet. So now you're taking these brands and you're going for ones that have a little bit more fat, because fat is not bad for you. However, when you're in a calorie deficit, it is a lot easier to have the fat-free options just because of the calorie intake. So that's a misconception that I had. Like, I was always like, fat-free, can't have this, fats are bad for me. Like, I kind of fell into that. And then I realized like I had a very low fat diet. And as women, we need to have a high fat diet in order to protect our hormones. All right. But right now, right, you're kind of like, I put you at like the low end of fats, but in a way that will keep you healthy for your hormone health. But cottage cheese, I like it with banana and cinnamon. If you've never tried it, it is so good. I put Coach Amra onto it too, and she loves it. This mozzarella cheese is basically like all protein as well, but all cheeses will have some type of protein in it. Greek yogurt is also a great substitution that you can make. So for example, if you just like yogurt, just by getting Greek yogurt rather than regular yogurt, you're going to double your protein intake. Right. So these little hacks, and as we continue on past this one, you're going to notice like it really is in the little things, because it's not just the meats. It's not just like the classic protein option, because you're already having that in your diet. And yes, you can increase the portion size. Right. We can have a little bit bigger of a portion of fish or of chicken or more of a portion of tofu. But little things like this, like if you're already having yogurt, switch to Greek yogurt, and simple, we're upping your protein. Eggs. Both of them are healthy, but one is a lower calorie than the other. So here is with eggs also, sometimes we think of like, what can I do to make my breakfast or whatever, whenever you're having eggs, like what can I do to make this meal higher protein? If you're only having like 1 or 2 eggs, just have another egg. Like that's as simple as it can be. Like it doesn't have to be like, I need all of these new recipes or I need to add all these things. Like just add another egg. Or if you're having dinner, maybe you're like cooking an egg and you're doing like a sunny side and you're adding that onto it. So this way you're having like some type of a meat, you're having some type of a carb, and then you're adding a little bit more protein by just adding an egg. Right. And then lastly, protein powder. I personally struggle to get enough protein, especially like as a plant-based girl. I struggle to hit my protein goal if I don't have protein powder. And I think that's a lot of you too. And that's normal. If you're having 1 to 2 scoops a day, that's fine, right? If you're having anywhere like 3, 4 scoops a day, that's a little bit too far off. So let's keep it to 1 to 2. If you're having protein powder every single day, as long as that it responds well to your body, you're totally fine. If it's not responding well, maybe you're getting bloated, maybe you're getting like any type of symptoms, it could be in the brand. Or maybe you just need to switch from like whey to a plant-based protein. I use Legion, so I use their plant-based protein. I think it's really good. But if you guys want the link to this, I can send this to you as well. Now, the add-ons. So those are all like the simple ones. We get our protein powder, we get our eggs, we're getting our tofu, we're getting a chicken in, right? Those are kind of like the basics. Now, where can we add a little bit more? Where can we have more of these substitutions that are slowly going to increase what we're already having and help us have more protein and help us have like these lifestyle swaps that we can continue doing? Something can be like chickpea pasta, right? If you love pasta, right, you're already having pasta, switching from just a regular standard pasta to chickpea pasta, you can have the same exact serving for basically the same calories, but now you are doubling your protein. Right, so that's something that I just always switch to now. Chickpea pasta. There's also like edamame pasta, black bean pasta. There's a bunch of different ones. I think I've had edamame. I don't know, I've had one of them, but I definitely just kind of go for like a chickpea pasta. Very, very simple way. Double your protein, same exact meal. Same thing can go for rice. Right, maybe you love, I personally will never do this. I am obsessed with white rice. I rather do everything to my day except for switching my white rice. So I'm not saying that you need to switch things out, but this can help. So going for white rice or quinoa will have a little bit more protein, right? Well, actually a lot more protein. It will have double the amount of protein than white rice will be. So sometimes when I'm on a calorie deficit, again, it's hard for me to get my protein in while not filling up my carbs completely. So when I'm in lower calorie, I will go for quinoa over white rice. Sadly, I love white rice. Next thing, wraps. So you're already having wraps, you're already having breads. there is also high protein options. So these are my personal favorites. The lavash bread will be in like any brand. This is just a brand that I find. I get it at BJ's. I've seen it around, but this will have like, again, double the protein than a regular standard bread will have, or a regular standard wrap will have, right? And then when you start to notice, like when you start to do this, like let's say you usually have white rice, you go for quinoa, you usually have regular yogurt, you go for Greek yogurt, you usually have a regular wrap, you go for a lavash wrap, right? All of these things, your meals are exactly the same, but now again, your protein is much higher. And which you probably noticed, sometimes it's like that 10 to 20 grams that you're like so close, you're so close. And these things can really set you apart. Anything like legumes, these are a little bit higher in carbs. So yes, they will increase your carbs. So for example, if I'm having rice and beans, I will have to have less rice, right? I'm going to have beans. That does increase my protein, but are also great ways to have more protein, right? Another thing is like hummus. So if you're using some type of spread, it doesn't have too much protein, but it does have a little bit more than like a regular spread will have. So this is something that you can go for and start to use. Spinach, 5 grams of protein per cup, which when you cook it, doesn't have to be so much. So if you're having like a massive salad, right, that's great. You can add your proteins on top. It's very, very low carb, but you can also cook it and just add it to the sides of your meal. So very, very simple. You're adding not a lot of volume because spinach is very easy to digest. It can be very small, and you're adding more protein as well. Edamame. Love edamame. It's one of my favorites, very high in protein. So now we're looking at this too, like let's say you're going for a regular like vegetables like peas or I don't know, carrots, any type of vegetable. If you want to increase your protein, maybe we're doing edamame instead. It has 18 grams of protein per 1 cup versus let's say if you're having peas, 1 cup will only have 8 grams of protein. So that's one of my favorite. Same thing, there's like edamame, like a lot of different products, pastas, spreads. It was like an edamame guacamole that I saw, but again, very, very simple way to just add more protein to your diet. Oh, what's happening here? Okay. And lastly, seeds. So seeds are a great way as well. The good thing about seeds is that you can also start to incorporate fats. So for me and for a lot of people as well, like it's very hard for me to get fats in my diet. Unfortunately, I can't have avocado or peanut butter. It's very, very like harsh reality that I've had to I've had to accept, but it makes me break out. I'm allergic. My dad's allergic. It's really sad. Anyways, I switched that for hemp seeds. So hemp seeds are my favorite, very high in protein and also very healthy fats. So it's basically like all protein and all fats. If you have 3 tablespoons of hemp seeds, you're having 10 grams of protein. So I usually, and flax seeds are about the same. What I do is like if I have a protein shake, I will put 2 tablespoons of flax and then 1 tablespoon of hemp on top, and that gives me another like 9 grams of protein. And that's a pretty good amount considering sometimes we're really not that far off. Hemp seeds as well, you can add to anything. You can, like here I put it on a rice bowl, you can put it on salads, I put it on like eggs, as you see. I usually put it on my protein powder, but you can really add it to anything. It just gives it like a nutty flavor. This also gives a nutty flavor, but it's a little bit more like powdery. But any type of seeds are pretty high in protein as well. Same with nuts. I didn't put it in here, but nuts have a little bit of protein. The thing with nuts is they're very calorically dense. So are seeds, so just be aware of that when you are adding. However, when we think about like calorically dense as well, these seeds having healthy fats and having so much fiber as well, it is going to help keep you full. So you add a tablespoon or 2 tablespoons of flax, right? And it is 60 calories. And you're like, damn, that's a lot of calories for 2 tablespoons. Yes, but it is going to help keep you full. So it's not necessarily like you're having like a candy is this big and it's 60 calories and it's not going to fill you at all. If you have that with your meal, it's probably not going to add a lot of like that satiation. However, if you're adding hemp or if you're adding seeds, you add that and you're going to feel the difference in how like full you feel after. Now, last part of this, So now we got a bunch of little hacks. Now you're doing quinoa with some flax seeds and some tofu or some chicken and an egg on top. It's a very high protein meal. Now, avoiding the macro Tetris. This is something that I talk about with every single one of you. Making sure that you're planning the day before. There should be no touching your phone unless you are like, I kind of want to add this or I kind of want to swap this on a day-to-day. 80% of your meals should be in MyFitnessPal or whatever app that you're using the night before. If you do this the night before, you create a much better relationship with food. You're not thinking about the app. You're not thinking about food all day. You don't run into needing 40 grams of protein at the end of the night and you want to skip dinner and have 2 scoops of protein powder, right? We are avoiding all of that. We are creating a better relationship with food. So this way you're planned the day of, you're not stressing, you already have too much to think about. So you're just grabbing your meal and you're going. So a very easy way to start when you are tracking. So you'll go at night, you're planning out your schedule, you're planning out your meals. Number one is, okay, what am I going to eat tomorrow? So what are going to be my 3 to 4 meals? Add your protein first, your easy proteins. So this is your tofu, your chicken, your meats, your eggs, maybe your Greek yogurt, your protein powder. Add those in first. So meal 1, meal 2, meal 3, I'm going to have eggs, I'm going to have tofu, and I'm going to have protein powder, right? So this is my bulk. If you add your easy protein first and you notice, damn, that only gave me 50 grams. Okay, let's increase the portion size. If you're only having 2 eggs, let's do 3. If you're only having 2 or 3 ounces of shrimp, let's do 6, right? This is now when you do that, so it'll kind of look a little bit like this. So I go into my meal and I'm like, I'm gonna have eggs in the morning, I'm gonna have some type of protein powder, and then I'm gonna have tofu for dinner, right? I add that in first and I kind of get a baseline of like, where am I? So my goal is 110 grams of protein. That gives me 77. That's pretty close. Now with everything else, I can plug in the rest. So I can start to plug in the wraps, I can start to plug in the hemp seeds, I can start to plug in the carb sources. All of these, right? We see the difference here with like that first major protein source is going to give me a lot of protein, 18 grams, 40 grams, 19 grams, and all of the other ones, right? They kind of trickle in like 3 grams, 3 grams, 1 gram, 4 grams, 8 grams. So those are the ones that are going to start adding up to give me my 107 grams. So that's how we should, if you're struggling to hit your protein goal, if you're realizing like, damn, at the end of the day, like I don't want to just have eggs, it's because of lack of planning. So make sure that when you go in, you're putting in your protein first. And this is what you can do even when you're not tracking, because at some point I do want you to step away from tracking. That is our goal. We are getting the diet done, we're doing the deficit, we're learning intuitive eating, but there has to be some point in life where you don't have to track, and we are going to get there. However, this same mentality still can be placed, because when you're thinking tomorrow, okay, I'm not tracking, but what am I having for breakfast? Oh, I'm going to have eggs, or okay, I'm gonna have pasta for lunch. How many times have you done like, oh, I'm gonna have mac and cheese for dinner, I'm gonna have pasta for dinner? Like, yes, but what is the protein source? So we should always think protein source first. And yeah, that is it. Real quick lesson today. As usual, we know food is love. And that is the relationship that we are trying to create here. So that is why we tracked the day before. That is why we are learning all of these things about food, because we are bringing a healthy relationship to food. We are thinking of food as how much can I eat, how much can I add, rather than how much can I take away because I want to get smaller and I want to lose weight and I want to do all this. Now, food is love, strength is power. And yeah, that is our motto. Any questions? I'm sweating. Oh my God, it's so hot. Just meal prepped my vodka sauce pasta. The sweet chickpea pasta and blended cottage cheese gets me 40 grams of protein per meal. Oh my God, that's amazing. Yes, cottage cheese. I actually haven't tried it because I don't really have too much dairy, but the cottage cheese was the one that I love. There's so many recipes that you can just take your pasta sauce and mix it with cottage cheese and your protein will skyrocket up and it gives it like that cheesy feel. So you can try that.
Did you ever find a vegan option of cottage cheese that you liked?
I have not. I found like, I use like almond cheese or cashew cheese. They're really not that high in protein. They taste good, but Cottage cheese was like my favorite because it's literally like having just protein. If you ever find it, please send it my way. Any questions? Any other questions? Anybody want to share maybe some tips or hacks that have helped you? Something that Maria actually taught me, she puts, again, for my tofu lovers, silken tofu in protein shakes. Don't put like a whole lot, but if you put silken tofu in it, it kind of just adds texture, similar to adding an avocado to your protein shake, which I thought was really strange until I tasted it. And yeah, silken tofu is like adding more protein to your protein shakes. It's the best. Yeah, it gives it texture. It's different. I don't like to add too much, but yeah, it's good. It's good. Silken tofu for the win.
For the vodka sauce, I always add chicken and spinach or broccoli into it, which I was always like against because I love vodka sauce so much. But when you're trying to get more protein with it, it definitely helps. So you always say make your food colorful, which I try to do now. So
Yeah, that's awesome. So you still have the sauce and then you add the other stuff in?
So I actually get my sauce from Jersey. I bring it all the way here.
Love that.
So I live like somewhere that is impossible to get good Jersey food. So I get the sauce from like my favorite pizzeria back home. So then when I'm reheating the sauce on like chickpea or protein pasta, once it's heating up, I'll throw in like a protein, whether it's like chicken or like kibasi, and then I'll throw in the broccoli, the spinach, and then some mozzarella. It's just like, it's better because it does make me full and I feel like I have less of it, but I have more volume. So it like makes me feel better. And then if I want to cheat a little, I'll do some garlic bread. But
Okay, I like that. A lot of this is like when we're adding so many things. So when we think of like the abundance of our diet, it's adding more than it is taking away, right? When we think of that mentality, it makes it a more positive experience. However, it does end up taking away certain things. So like for her sauce, since she's adding so many ingredients, she's gonna have a little bit less of the sauce. But we kind of get the best of both worlds. And you may have noticed your palate starts to adapt too. It's like you don't even need that much sauce. So that's something that comes with time. Anything else that we want to touch on? Or do we have, I'll open up now questions in general. Anything that you've come across this week, maybe in the gym, maybe with your food, anything unrelated to today before we wrap up.
Yeah, I guess I'm getting better with the fatigue after the lifting days, but I'm still finding like today, I mean, I'd had two really busy days in a row. Um, and it just was impossible to get to my workout this morning. Just any more thoughts with that or anything?
How much are you sleeping? How many hours a night?
I sleep really well, like 7 to 8. I'm a good sleeper.
Okay. So when you are lower calorie, because we've decreased your calories, right? So when you're lower calorie, recovery is much more difficult. So you are gonna feel that fatigue. So like for example, myself, when I'm in a calorie deficit, if I don't get 8 hours, I am shot. Like 7 hours, I'm like, okay, I can do this. But like if I can go for like the 8, like it helps a bunch. You're gonna notice a big difference when we start to increase your calories. It's just the difference that your body can't recover as much because it's not getting as much fuel and you're putting out more energy and lifting more.
Oh, I had no idea because like yesterday so we started the calorie deficit on Monday, but you know me, I was already practicing like it was Saturday. So I was getting my right amount of calories, but I was already planning ahead, practicing. And then Monday was the first day. Went very well. I was a little bit hungry at the end of the day, but it wasn't bad. But then this morning, oh my God, I could barely move. And I thought it was just because I worked out really hard Monday morning. you know?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, you'll recover much more when we increase your calories. New workouts, different lifts are also gonna just fatigue you a little bit more depending on what workout. Your first week of workouts usually will hit a little bit harder because they're all new movements. So all of these things come in. Your cycle can kind of throw you off. There's a lot of little things, but I think the biggest thing is the fact that we've had your calories down for now several weeks.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions? I think we're all set. Cool. So for this week, no check-ins because I will be away. I will be away tomorrow until Sunday. Feel free to message me if you do have questions, just no structured check-ins. I will get back to you at some point throughout there because I usually try to check my phone like first thing in the morning before I venture off. But yeah, that is the only announcement. And then next week is a regular week. So I hope you guys have a wonderful week and I will talk to you soon. Bye.